slight chance my pregnant wife had an affair. Should I ask for a paternity test or wait?
My wife is 38, I'm 39, and we've been together for 12 years. Until recently, I honestly thought our relationship was almost perfect. We barely ever argued, we lived well, we both had good jobs, we bought a house exactly where we wanted, and overall we had a calm, stable adult life. For the last 2 years, we had been trying to have a baby, but it just wasn't happening. We were already getting ready to start fertility testing, and then right after I came home from a work trip, she told me she was pregnant. And in that moment, I had this weird thought in my head. Wait, didn't we not try during that week because of the fertility testing? But I wasn't completely sure. That month had been busy, and we had been trying a lot, so I told myself I was probably just remembering it wrong. I travel a lot for work. Before COVID, I could be away for most of the year. After COVID, it became less, but I still regularly leave for at least a week every month. My wife has had a close male friend from work for several years. Let's call him Matt. He's around 34, he's married, I know his wife, and he and my wife have worked together for about 7 years. I was friendly with him too. I never seriously thought anything was going on between them, but I've always believed that in any relationship, you can't be 100% naive. Even when you trust someone, there's always that 1% chance that they might cross a line. About a month ago, I was out of state for work. During the day, I asked my wife what she was doing, and she said Matt was coming over for dinner. That wasn't really unusual. He had come over before, sometimes with his wife, sometimes alone, sometimes even when I wasn't home, so I didn't think too much of it. We have cameras inside and outside the house. We installed them a few years ago after an incident that had nothing to do with this story. Both of us have access to the cameras, and my wife knows very well that I sometimes check them, especially to see how our dog is doing. So that night, I opened the camera and saw my wife, 4 months pregnant, lying on her side on the floor. Matt was sitting by her legs using a foam roller to massage her hips. I just froze and thought, what the hell is this? I started rewinding the footage. At first, they were just eating and talking. Then they sat on the couch and got under the same blanket. Technically, they were lying feet to feet, but our couch isn't that big. After that, they moved to the floor, and that was the moment I opened the live feed. I texted her while I was still watching through the cameras. They both looked like they had been caught doing something wrong. Matt left almost right away. We argued. She wasn't angry at me for being suspicious, but she kept insisting that nothing had happened, and nothing ever would happen. She said her back and hips had been hurting because of the pregnancy, and he was just helping her with the pain. And I know she really had been having back pain, that part was true. But then I asked her the main question. If I had been home, would the two of you have been comfortable doing that in front of me? She hesitated, but eventually admitted, no, probably not. After that, I told her I didn't want to keep talking on the phone, and that we would discuss everything when I got home in 3 days. And that was when it really hit me. I remembered that strange thought I had when she first told me she was pregnant. What if that 1% chance had actually happened? What if the baby we were waiting for wasn't mine? For 3 days, sitting alone in a hotel 1,000 miles away from home, that thought ate me alive. I tried to convince myself that most likely nothing had happened between them, but that 1% in my head had turned into 10%, maybe even 20. When I got home, she was walking on eggshells, but she didn't bring it up herself. I waited to see what she would do. A couple of days later, she finally started the conversation and broke down crying. She swore nothing had happened and that she would never do that to me. She didn't put on some huge over-the-top performance, and she didn't desperately try to prove everything too hard. For some reason, I took that as a good sign. We talked for a long time and decided, at least for now, to move forward. But I was still trying to figure out how to trust her again. I know they've been friends for a long time. Maybe he has feelings for her, but I never noticed anything like that from her side. I've seen them together many times, and I never caught anything that felt suspicious. But there was still one thought I couldn't get out of my head. If I'm wrong and something did happen between them, I can probably figure out what to do with the marriage. But what if the baby isn't mine? In all our conversations, I never brought up a paternity test. She didn't mention it either. I was afraid that if she really was innocent, even asking that question would crush her and destroy whatever we still had left. The only thing I could think of was waiting until the baby was born and secretly doing a paternity test. But I didn't know if that was right. Maybe I should tell her now and deal with it directly. If she was telling the truth, it could destroy her trust in me. And if she was lying, her reaction would probably tell me a lot too. I just didn't know what to do. Update. There are a lot of comments. Thank you, everyone. I won't be able to reply to all of you directly, but I'm still reading a few things. Please stop sending me private messages about this. Thank you. Some people made good points about dealing with this now instead of later, and I'm thinking about that more than I was before. So, thank you for that. To the people who are focused only on my relationship, I get it, but that's not my main focus right now. We've talked about this a lot. My wife and I are pretty open with each other. I'm not saying I'm completely convinced that nothing happened, but right now I'm more focused on paternity. If I need to track my wife, spy on her, or put Life 360 on her phone, then this relationship is already over. That's not the kind of relationship we have, and it's not the kind of relationship I ever want. Honestly, I don't think anyone should live like that. We are working on rebuilding trust. Like I said in this long post, my original 1% chance went up to around 10%. Trust me, I'm taking my relationship seriously. But like I've already told some people, if the child isn't mine, then there is no conversation left to have. I've already talked to a lawyer. I don't live in a state where the birth certificate situation would be a major problem. If I have paperwork proving that the child isn't mine, then divorce won't be that complicated. We are both financially independent, so that part won't matter much either way. I'll keep checking this post for as long as I can, and I'll post an update when and if anything gets resolved. Update. So she was out of state on a business trip until late last night. It's Friday, so she worked from home in our kitchen. So I asked to talk and brought it up and asked for a test. She immediately said yes and said there's zero doubt and nothing that she'd even have a second to worry about. But she has no problem doing it now. The only caveat I left it with is, if it's invasive at all per our doctors, then I'm okay waiting until it's low risk. I'm not a doctor, no clue what they'd have to do it now. So not sure when we are, but she's aware and we are getting one. It was a decent and longer conversation. We are currently sitting together getting lunch. She's got no clue I did this on Reddit. Hence the new account, because she is on here somewhere. Thank you everyone for your help and opinions. A bunch of you made me realize that we are already really open about everything. And if nothing happened, then she wouldn't worry about getting one. I was more worried about her health and adding some insane level of stress if it was an issue, as she's an at-risk pregnancy, and it took so long for us to get pregnant. So again, thank you all for the help. I suppose I can update if it's mine or not, but I'm not sure how long that will be. I'm 90 to 95% sure it is mine, but this will help us continue this conversation. Thank you. Update, just because it seems to be more of a topic on this post versus the other one for some reason. Yes, I have the footage. No, I haven't talked to Matt yet. He's told her he wants to talk about it, but I've told them to wait on that. My relationship with my wife and the paternity is what's important right now. I will eventually talk with Matt. No, I'm not going to get Matt's wife involved intentionally. I don't know why I would other to just be vindictive. I'm not going to cover for him, obviously, but his relationship is his, and mine is mine. I'm not interested in making this worse. Whatever is going on between him and his wife isn't any of my business. Relevant comments. The author was asked why his wife thought it was okay to be that physically close with another man. We've talked about it at length. Nothing is being ignored. I could write a whole essay about our past, her reasons, and how I feel about all of it. But instead, I'll just say this. I'm aware of it. She is still claiming that nothing more happened. But at the same time, she admits that it looked bad. She says she just wasn't thinking about it that way in the moment. And that's what we're working through right now. He was told that it did not look innocent, and someone asked if his wife ever goes to Matt's house when Matt's wife is not home. She's 4 months pregnant. I was home. And we had been actively trying for a baby to the point where the days were starting to blur together, trust me. We're pretty open people, and we're comfortable with ourselves and with each other. I don't know if she has ever been to his house without his wife there. I mean, the 3 or 4 of us hang out maybe once or twice a month, but they work directly together every single day and have for years. So obviously there is a closeness there. They are both in upper management at their company. And at my company, I also have long-term female friends. I've traveled with them, had dinner with them, and spent time with them in hotel rooms. But I've never done anything, because that's just not who I am. I'm married. I love my wife. I love my life. I have no reason to cross that line. So yes, the optics are bad. I just have to figure out whether it only looked bad, or whether she actually had a reason to act that way. Maybe he had a reason too, and maybe that's what I saw. I'm not sure. But then it comes down to whether I trust her enough to handle that. She says that if he does have feelings or intentions, she never noticed it. She spends time with him and his wife almost as much as he spends time with us. She works in a building close to them. My company is based in Chicago, and I live on one of the coasts, so my work friends are much more spread out. We can't just go to a bar for drinks after work any day like they can. Honestly, because of that, I usually go to her work hangouts more often than my own. I'm even friendly with her CEO because of it. So is everything perfect? No. But I've always trusted her. I've never had a reason not to. In 15 years, this is the first crack in that trust. The author gave a clearer description of what happened that day. That's not what I saw. She said something and he froze. Then he said something I couldn't hear, and she said, No, don't worry about it. He put something in the dishwasher and she walked him to the front door. He didn't jump out of a window. You have to remember, this is Reddit. I'm not putting every tiny detail in here because that would take me hours to write, and I'm not posting my security footage online for strangers to watch. The reason I even have that security system in the first place is because of a stranger from the internet. I'm not saying that I know for sure nothing happened between them. I'm saying that right now, I don't know, and I don't have proof. That is what my wife and I are talking about almost every day. That is what we are trying to work through. The original point of the post was this. The only thing we had not talked about yet was paternity because I did not want to put her in a situation where she could medically lose the child. Mine or not. Not only have I not been able to include every single detail here, I've also changed a few small details about our lives on purpose. Nothing important to what happened, just ordinary personal details. At one point, I was a small public figure, and some lowlife from the internet traveled across the country to make death threats against us because of something twisted in his own head. It got to the point where federal authorities had to get involved. People here are jumping to wild conclusions with far less information than I have, while ignoring the original point of the post and the actual questions I asked. Did he tell Matt's wife? She is my wife's friend's wife. We don't meet up and knit together. I know her through my wife. I see her maybe once every few months at a bar after work, or when they come over for dinner or to hang out. We are not best friends. And again, what exactly am I supposed to tell her? Hey, your husband was at my house. I knew he was there, and I saw him rolling a foam roller along the outside of my wife's hip while sitting by her feet. It's super obvious they're sleeping together, and even though I'm not sure, it's possible she's carrying his baby. This isn't a soap opera. There is nothing I know for sure that I can tell her. So why would she believe me based on the tiny amount of evidence I have? And how would that help my situation in any way? If all of this turns out to be false, then I would have destroyed my own relationship by acting like a child and trying to create drama. From the outside, it would obviously look like I was just being vindictive, and I would put them in the exact same situation we are in right now, over something I do not even know is true yet. I think you've completely lost the point of what is happening here. Update number 2. Hi, folks. So I haven't been touching this account at all as I was mostly bombarded by people telling me I'm an AI, wishing my wife a miscarriage, claiming she's going to get a secret abortion to save herself, or that I'm a clown for not keeping it real and destroying someone else's marriage over speculation only. I'm amazed that people are still following this and invested in it after all this time. Here's where we are at. Yes, my wife is still very much pregnant. She's in the hard to pick things up off the floor stage. She's due in 8 weeks. Holy shit, 6 weeks actually. Just looked at the calendar. We are getting weekly ultrasounds at this point. He's already about 5 pounds and has a big ol' head. Her and I had some very long direct conversations about everything. She is adamant that nothing has ever happened and nothing ever would. For a while, she was pretty upset with herself for causing this and causing my feelings of doubt. I've done my best to remedy that as I've got to keep stress off her as much as possible right now. But it will for sure be revisited after the birth. As I've been saying the entire time, I'm really only worried about the child and the birth going well, etc. Well, mostly, maybe not only. The only thing we still really disagree on is I thought he was getting too close because he had developed feelings or was getting attention that he wasn't getting elsewhere, maybe, etc. She doesn't see it that way, but has also said it's possible, but if so, she was blind to it. I told her I wanted a paternity test, and she immediately agreed to it and said no problem at all. My only stipulation was that it couldn't be medically risky or stress-inducing at all, as she's a high-risk pregnancy. We both spoke to her doctors about it, and they basically told us that our only option was to go to the courthouse because they wouldn't do one without the law involved, which we both thought was ridiculous. Her doctor was a bit thrown off by it, so I didn't press very hard. It was honestly her pretty much demanding it. I knew there were other options. I looked into those other options and ultimately decided to wait until the birth, and I have a lab already set up to do it, ready to go. I'm 95% sure it's unnecessary, but I'm still getting one for my peace of mind and mostly so that nothing will come between me and my child. For those of you that have left me messages of support that I didn't get back to, thank you. I'm going to spend some time going through them tonight before I run off again. For those of you who've left messages that think I should be acting like a 17-year-old high school student and either getting violent, purposely cheating on my wife to prove a point, or other childish trash, thanks for the entertainment at least. Stop watching TLC and TikTok. That dumbass drama ain't the way, kiddos. And to the one person who suggested I cause an accident with my wife, I hope you end up behind bars someday. It's really likely I'm not going to come back here after tonight until after I get the results from the lab. So if you're really still interested in the results come back in 1.5 to 2 months, I've been told the results take about 48 hours once submitted. I'll give you your Maury moment then. Relevant comments. Comment number 1. People seem to be reading way too much into why I thought this might have been more than what I actually described. I've already seen people saying things like, dude, they were in bed together, you caught them, or they were cuddling under a blanket. I understand how the telephone game works, but I never said any of that. So I guess I'll clarify exactly what I saw. They were on the sectional couch in my living room, on opposite ends, under the same large blanket, feet to feet. As for the massage, she was lying on her side on the floor, and he was sitting near her feet, rolling one of those big foam rollers along her back and side. That's something I do for her all the time because she has been complaining about back pain and pain on the outside of her hip for a while. Was it still enough for me to bring it up with her? Yes, absolutely. But people are talking about it like they were basically dry humping and just thought I couldn't see them. That is not what happened. Comment number 2. People keep telling me that I'm being blind, that I'm ignoring the obvious, and that I'm just letting both of them off the hook. So here's the direct answer I gave to one person when I explained how I see it. I think he said something like, "That's exactly what guys say when they choose to keep their head in the sand." And this was my response. Yes, I'm very aware of that. But I've also said many times that my wife has a high-risk pregnancy, so I made the decision not to blow everything up until I know something for sure. Because otherwise, I could be risking what might be my only chance to have a child at my age. If it turns out I was wrong and something happens because I exploded over nothing, I don't know how I would live with myself after that. And honestly, my marriage probably wouldn't survive it either. So I don't see that as a winning option. If I handle this calmly, like an adult, and I'm wrong, then great. We can move forward. And if I'm right, then it can still be dealt with properly, based on facts, not speculation. If the baby is mine and the birth goes well, then we have a healthy child. After that, I can deal with whatever damage she did or didn't do without risking what might be the only child I'm ever going to have. Trust me, I'm not ignoring it. I'm choosing to support my wife through the pregnancy first, and then I'll deal with the rest of it. Emotionally, it has probably been the hardest thing I've ever done. But here we are. End of the copied comment. I know I've been a sarcastic asshole in some of these comments, but honestly, thank you to everyone who has shown concern. I really have gotten some good advice from people. More than anything, writing all of this down has been kind of therapeutic. Most of my friends are toxic dudes who are more interested in arguing about golf or some other pointless crap. I love them, but I don't really have anyone other than my wife to talk to about any of this, so honestly, thank you. Update. The baby boy is here. He was born on September 27th, weighing 7 pounds and 10 ounces. According to the doctors in the operating room, he had one of the biggest meconium situations they had seen in a while. So they said he was probably closer to 8 pounds when he was actually born. Labor was induced early in the morning on the 26th. The whole thing lasted about 30 hours. She pushed for around 3 hours, but there was no progress, so it ended in a C-section. He is perfectly healthy, and honestly, he is kind of a little tank. I was almost a 10-pound baby myself when I was born, so maybe that tracks. Mom is recovering right now, and she is definitely not having a good time, but we are getting through it. They told us we should be discharged on Tuesday. We live about 2 miles from the hospital, so I've gone back to the house a couple of times to take a shower and sneak in an hour or two of sleep. Other than that, I've been here the whole time. As for the paternity test, with everything that comes with having a newborn, her recovery, and honestly some embarrassment around the whole situation, we haven't started the test yet. But everything is already set up, and we are ready to start it on Tuesday when we leave the hospital. So I'll give a final update once the results come back. Maybe in another week or 10 days. My honest opinion, after looking at this baby, is that he is mine. Matt and I are physically very different. We have different backgrounds. I'm 6'3" and about 240 pounds. He is probably around 5'8" and maybe 175 or 180 pounds. I've always believed that babies all kind of look the same, apart from obvious ancestral traits. But yes, this little moose of a baby already has some obvious features that could only come from me. We are still doing the test, but at this point, I'm really not worried about it. I'll make a new post when I get the results back. Final update. The results are in the child is mine. The baby is as healthy as he can be so far. Mom, on the other hand, has been having some problems. The baby was born on September 27th. Labor lasted 30 hours and ended in a C-section. He weighed 7 pounds and 10 ounces. Mom did not handle it very well. We were supposed to stay in the hospital for 4 days, but it turned into 8. Since then, she has already been back to the hospital twice. Right now, I'm sitting in the car with the little guy because Mom is in the emergency room again. She is making progress, but she is still struggling with a few things. Like I mentioned before, she had some health issues before the pregnancy, and we knew that would make this harder. There have been a few hurdles, but we are getting over them together. As for paternity, the results came back this morning. It was more than a 99.9999% match. I am the father, Honestly, I pretty much already knew that. But now there is no question left, and I can finally put it behind me. My wife and I had a lot of long conversations about all of this before the birth, especially around the time of the original post, when everything first started. We are in a good place now. That situation will probably always be there in some way, but we both understand that we have things to work on when it comes to communication after everything that happened. I also saw Matt today. That has been settled too. I am pretty satisfied that what I saw back then was all there was. There was nothing more behind it. It was a friend helping her with pain in the same way I do. I want to thank everyone who left a comment or sent me a message. Good comments, bad comments, thank you either way. Talking into the void and talking to all of you strangers helped me wait this out. I appreciate it. Now I'm going to go enjoy spending time with my son. Thank you again.